Okay, so like when a company can make a solid device under $500, that's something to talk about. But so is a company that missed the mark. Now the question is then, so which side of the fence does a OnePlus 5 fall on? Let's talk. So this phone here by far is one of the more popular, kind of budget flagshippers. And with it, you have two choices. The 479 model, which packs 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage, or the 539 model, which is going to give you 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. But outside of that, there's really nothing different between the two phone options there, which is pretty nice because then you don't have to weigh as many pros and cons in terms of choosing which one you want. All you have to really do is just decide if you need more storage or not, or maybe more speed or not, versus like a size bump for a camera bump kind of upgrade. Now that right there, that's a tough decision. But in moving on from that to design, it basically has the same build as its big brother, the iPhone 7. I'm playing, yo. I couldn't resist. I mean, like, the design of the OnePlus 5 was like one of the most talked about things regarding the phone in reference to how much it looked like the iPhone. So I couldn't resist. But in all honesty though, like the feeling of the OnePlus 5 is very similar to what you would experience if you held an iPhone 7. And that's because they're both made of aluminum. However, the OnePlus 5 does seem to have more like a matte finish, as I didn't find myself constantly wiping fingerprints off of the back of it. I did, however, find myself using the alert slide on the left quite a bit, as it was super convenient to alternate between silent, do not disturb, and ring mode. All of these which can be configured via your settings. Now beneath that button, you have your volume buttons, and then the power button on the opposite side of the device. In terms of home button placement, OnePlus did choose the more traditional route, as it rests on the bottom and it doesn't stutter when it's reading your fingerprint. And it also kind of makes the device give you this subtle feedback when you press it. And then beneath that at the bottom, you have your headphone port, a classic treasure, USB-C charging port, and then like a sadly poorly placed speaker. So thankfully the sound quality isn't terrible. It sounds fairly decent. It's nothing that's gonna blow your mind or anything, but it gets the job done. However, the area in which the speaker lives, it has to be like one of the worst places it could be. I mean, at least I'll speak for myself, because I know I tend to hold my device, in my palm, especially when I'm using it with one hand, and my palm is constantly covering the speaker whenever I'm listening to anything. And it doesn't cover it and just kind of lower the volume, it will cover it and mute the volume. So I find because of this, it makes me more aware of how I'm holding my phone. But aside from that, I'll live, because there are just too many other nice things, believe it or not, to enjoy about this phone than just fretting over the speaker. So firstly, it runs Oxygen OS on top of Android Nougat. So that means you basically have the latest software from Google and then a very stock-like experience from OnePlus, as their overlay doesn't crowd you with a bunch of useless things, but instead essential options. So with this beautiful combination, you can do things like maximize productivity with split screen apps, or rearrange your quick setting tiles to grab what you need even quicker, or one of my personal favorites, the option to press and hold a notification to simply adjust the notification controls on the fly. Now in the unboxing video I did for this phone, I did ask all of you to, ask me any questions that you may have. And Daniel Robertson was one of those people who did, and he questioned if there were any exclusive features on the OnePlus 5. Why yes, Daniel, there is. So with the Oxygen OS skin, you're gonna find a very pure experience. Like upon powering my device on for the first time, I literally went into the app drawer and really didn't have to swipe between countless pointless apps that you normally would have to sit down and delete. Instead, I had what I needed, and I could enjoy customizing my device by adding more versus removing junk. So reading mode is a feature of Oxygen OS, an exclusive feature, as it definitely makes a difference when using your phone in a dim lit setting, especially before you go to sleep. Pretty much everything just worked like really flawlessly and smoothly without, any stuttering or hiccups during anything that I was really doing. Plus the 5.5 Full HD AMOLED display performed well also, and it allowed me to enjoy my media in a way, despite the resolution and what some may think, you won't feel like you're losing anything unless you happen to be like a pixel peeker. So for most, I feel like you should be good to go, as pretty much everything was sharp and true to color. It's still a very pleasant experience when watching video, plus it's AMOLED, so darker tones will look good, making consuming media a really good experience yet in the same. Now something else that I like about Oxygen OS is the simplicity and ease of navigation. Like even the settings aren't jumbled with numerous crazy options, making it easy to find the things you need quick access to, such as the option to change your default home launcher. And you even have these little sublines of text beneath the headers telling you the current status of each option. So this is definitely the type of phone that you're going to want to consider if you want a stock experience, or for those iPhone users coming over to Android, wanting a interface that's kind of comparable as much as possible in an Android iPhone-ish way, if you want to say. No offense. Yeah, this would be it. Now with the Snapdragon 835 chipset and my 6 gigs of RAM, my phone was able to keep up with everything I threw at it, from work to media consumption to gaming. So I really didn't find myself frustrated with underperformance, as it just didn't happen. It surprisingly is a pretty powerful phone, especially when you weigh in the price and the competition for the dollar difference. Also, quick side note, I did test in the unboxing video if the OnePlus 5 worked with Verizon, and it did, but there was one thing that was lacking, and that's the ability to send or receive picture messages. So unless there's a setting that I'm missing or something like that, you can make calls, text, consume data, but not send a picture message. Kind of random, but just a quick FYI. So, battery life. Inside this thing, you're gonna find a 3300 milliamp battery, which can get you through the day, and if it doesn't, then you can definitely take advantage of dash charge, which will rapidly increase your battery life in just a matter of minutes. And this advertised feature is not only true, but it's like so handy in a number of different scenarios, to the point that it actually kind of starts to spoil you a little bit. I found myself not micromanaging my battery and just simply enjoying my device, because I knew if it happened to die or get close to dying, it would take no time to charge it back up. Like, you could literally be going out and prop your phone on the charger and gain about a 50 to 60% charge within just like 30 minutes. That's crazy, but it's definitely clutch. I mean, just picture a life where you can actually, leave your phone on the charger and it be good to go in just a matter of minutes versus a matter of hours. But that camera? So for starters, it has a dual lens with a 16 megapixel wide angle lens and a 20 megapixel telephoto lens. So you can certainly get the shot with this, especially with this clean interface to navigate within that consists of a swipe to jump into 4K video recording or portrait mode. Plus, you also have a mode that even some pricier flagship devices don't even have, Pro mode. So for my professional cell phone photographers, you can access the tools you need without another app. However, one feature I do miss is optical image stabilization, which is very noticeable during video, as the shot turned out really bouncy. But picture-wise, you're pretty good to go. The portrait mode did a fairly decent job in making my cell phone shots look more comparable to that of a DSLR, but still struggle just a tad here and there along the edges of the subject. And the color and contrast found within photos provided by the camera itself were pretty natural, and it wasn't overkill. So thankfully, things aren't really going to be overly saturated. I feel like a lot of the images taken from the OnePlus were pretty sharp and had a nice dynamic range. At least with the selfies, they weren't too bad for the most part and provided a usable image. Definitely not the best for low light photography, but if you need to grab the moment with a photo, you got something that can. But I found that I really did enjoy using this device with its, kind of flagship-ish features. It gave a nice in-hand experience because of that rounded design that actually in turn helped with extended use because it didn't feel like my phone was stabbing my hand. Now, although it doesn't pack wireless charging, expandable storage, or waterproofing, it's still a decent buy and I do recommend it. Now, granted, the competitors out there probably do offer these things, but those things do come with a price jump. And for some, that price jump just isn't worth it, especially when you own a device like this one that pretty much does just enough pretty well. And I found it interesting that in the comments of the unboxing video that one of you left a message that said you wanted a device that was functional and not fancy. And to me, that's exactly what the OnePlus 5 is.